For anyone who didn't already know, this past weekend at VCT Lock-In, we got the premiere of Valorant's newest agent, Gekko. This comes shortly after the release of our newest map, Lotus, as well as our most recent agent, Harbor. So with all these changes coming to Valorant, let's dive into what we know so far about Agent Gekko. So what a lot of people haven't realized yet is that our first signs of the new agent Gekko actually came earlier in February when we got the cinematic premiere for Lock-In. 6 seconds into the video, we see the background of someone gaming, and on that desk is a small little lava lamp with a little weird looking blob inside, and that in fact is one of our newest agent's abilities. Now we don't know too much about Gekko just from that little moment, but we do know that Riot loves to hide these little Easter eggs in everything they do, so it's exciting to look back and see how far in the past they started hinting to us that a new agent was coming. We got the official announcement that a new agent was on the way during Riot's State of the Agent with character developers and character producers. During this, we get a little bit of what's to come from Valorant in 2023.
So you're probably wondering, what are we releasing for 2023? So in 2023, we'll be releasing 3 new agents. We'll be releasing an Initiator, a Sentinel, and finally, we're not going to quite give that one away yet. You'll have to wait until later in the year to find out.
As well as the official first look at our newest agent, Gekko. On first glance, this picture doesn't tell us too much about the new agent, but the more you pick it apart, the more we can learn about Gekko. The first clue, and one of the most straightforward ones, is what he has Brimstone saved in his phone as, which is Beard Poppy. Everyone knows Riot loves a meme, and as the entire Valorant fan base has simped for Brim in the past, seeing him called Beard Poppy on a phone is pretty funny. But not only is this a silly little tribute to the Valorant community, it also gives us a basic idea of the age range of Gekko. This is definitely younger slang, something Gen Z, maybe younger millennials might name someone in their phone, so we can go ahead and guess this is a younger agent. Looking around the picture more, we're seeing some bright, colorful tiles. We get a lot of light coming in, looks like a golden hour kind of vibe, as well as some plants in the background, hinting to warm weather. So we're guessing this agent is somewhere where it's a little warmer. Stylistically, it gives us a Spanish vibe, so we're looking at a Spanish agent as of now. This is what we're seeing. And then, most excitedly, in this left-hand side of the picture, we see a cup of boba, but more importantly, we see some little claws reaching out to grab it. No one's really sure what this means yet, but it's safe to say that our new agent has a little buddy that's going to be coming around with him. Not long after the State of the Agents was released, we get another teaser that really dives into the personality behind Gekko. In this teaser, we see a few things. He's a foodie. We got a burger on the desk, we got a little bit more boba, gummy bears all over, kicking into the younger vibes. We see palm trees in the background, confirming that this has to be some kind of warm climate. We also get this conversation between the other agents. It looks like they're all in a big group chat that they might not realize Gekko's also in. Most importantly, what we see is a group message between the Valorant agents. It's pretty clear Brimstone's upset that our newest agent seems to be dodging his calls, which, when you're a younger millennial or a Gen Z, you know, picking up the phone's not our number one. We have a few of the agents talking back, kind of reminding him to calm down, and that's where Reyna steps in, says, no, I know him, we can trust him. Now, for anyone who knows a bit about Valorant lore, we don't have too much on Reyna's backstory at this time. So, knowing that Reyna's the one who introduced this new agent kind of adds this exciting element of, are we going to learn more about where Reyna comes from? What's her story? Who are the people she cares about? Now, my favorite part about this conversation doesn't really have to do with the agent himself, but it's this little tidbit where Neon kind of calls Brim out, saying, stop signing off your text messages. These are text messages, Brim. Everyone knows Brim's the boomer of the group, so giving him that little jab is chef's kiss. Thanks, Riot. Another super important part of this teaser that I didn't realize the first time is right behind that phone, you can see that blob that we saw all the way back during the Lock-In cinematic. Again, we don't really get a full idea of what he is. He's kind of just looking out the window, vibing. But we can see next to him is some sort of technology. Now, a lot of people took this immediately as this is his holder, this is how he's carried, and we can tie that back again to the Lock-In cinematic. He was being held inside of a lava lamp looking thing, some sort of plasma keeping him safe. So whatever this little guy is, he's some sort of powerful entity. We don't really know, but he's not a normal creature. And then in March, we got one of my favorite teasers of the group. Not only does this teaser give us a little bit of lore, but it gives us our agent song. Which is one of my favorites because it finally announces our agent's song. For every Valorant agent, they have a theme song, a song that kind of comes along with their trailer, follows them as they continue their cinematics. And for Gekko, we have One by Eric Dua. Again, gives us kind of a feel for the vibe of this agent, a little of his personality. It's very vibey, very flowed, laid back. So I'm super excited to get more of the personality behind Gekko. We also get a little bit more lore to untangle here. First things first, Gekko's got a reminder that he's got to go pick up tamales from his mother. Now, if we go back to our very first teaser, we saw some sort of Spanish influence in the artwork itself, but now we can pretty much guarantee that this agent is of Spanish heritage. He also has 9 missed calls from our beard poppy Mr. Brim, which, if we know Brim, he's not too happy about it, but Gekko doesn't seem to worry too much about that yet. The last message is one that I looked into pretty long, trying to figure out if I was overthinking it or not, but I think I'm right on this. He has a text message from his coach, and the coach has a little wave emoji next to it. We can pretty much assume that this means Harbor is his mentor in the way that Reyna mentors Jet, Sage mentors Neon. So we can guess that he might not be Radiant yet, but he's on his way to that journey. The text message itself says, training tomorrow, 6 sharp, try not to forget this time, which keeps leaning into his personality of being kind of a laid-back, go-with-the-flow, on his own time kind of guy. We also get a cute little background of that little green blob we've been seeing everywhere, confirming that this is his pet, this is his little buddy, but what does he do? We still don't really know. Alright, not long after that, we get our next teaser, which is a few pictures from Gekko's camera roll. First, we see our big 3 agents, Reyna, Brim, and Jet, sitting around a Korean barbecue setup, very clearly having a dinner as a team. Jet's got her goofy face on, Reyna's trying not to laugh, and you can see Brim's trying to be serious, looking like he's asking him to sit down. Going into this next picture, we know that Gekko's a foodie. Nearly every single teaser has had some sort of food reference in it, and this one is no different. We got Korean barbecue in the first pictures, some street tacos in the second. This man loves to eat, and who can blame him? The third picture in this is where you really get an idea of what this agent is going to look like in-game. We see there's a lot of street art inspired doodles in this notebook. He's got his name written a few different ways, what looks to be like an actual Gekko crawling up the page, and then 3 really interesting markings in the top of the page. On the top left, we have a little knife stabbing through a heart. This might be a reach, but for me that just screams Reyna in it. It could just be a picture. For me, it's some sort of call out to Reyna. In the top right, we have a little sugar skull, which could just be a tribute to his heritage, but for me, it kind of gives me the idea of that headshot icon that we get in Valorant. And then right in the middle of the page is one of the most important markings. So at this time, a lot of us immediately assumed we're seeing Gekko's alt icon right there. And when you look at it, it looks like some sort of armadillo creature. We're not really sure, but it's got a big old circle around it, meaning that Gekko likes it, Gekko enjoys it. So we're not totally sure what that is yet, but we have an idea that it's one of his util icons. Then if you look down on the page a little bit at that third writing of his name in the green and the blue, in the O of the Gekko, we see a little face. Cannot confirm that it's the green blob that we've seen in the other teasers, but I like to think that it's his stylization of it. Last but not least, we got a little bit of home from Gekko. Clearly his mother's tamales, it looks like some sort of soda next to it. To me, it reminds me of Hiritos, but we don't know for sure. This is just confirming more of his foodie antics and his Spanish culture. Last but not least, one of my absolute favorite teasers we've gotten from Gekko. It's him FaceTiming Reyna, trying to figure out what color to dye his hair. Now, if anyone knows Reyna, we know she does not have time for this kind of stuff, but for some reason, she's putting up with it for Gekko. They have a little bit of back and forth in both Spanish and English, confirming that this is a Spanish agent once again, but we can also kind of get an idea of what their relationship is. They're very close, they're very casual when they speak, so we can assume that this agent has known Reina for a long time and in more than just a workplace fashion. It seems like they have some sort of familiar relationship, whether that's of a brother and a sister, of a cousin, some sort of familiarity that's a little bit deeper than just work colleagues. One of my favorite parts about this is when Reina asks, "Why me? Why are you calling me with this?" Because we know Reina's too busy and she's not interested in this. Gekko has a hilarious reply of, "Well, Neon didn't answer."
¿Por qué yo? ¿Por qué me estás hablando a mí?
Neon didn't pick up.
Valorant has a ton of interpersonal lore between each agent, which agents have crushes on each other, which agents don't like each other, which agents are besties, whether this is confirmed lore from Riot or things fans have made up. I absolutely love that Riot leans into it, and it seems like they are already getting it off the bat that Gekko and Neon are going to be besties. I'm a Neon main, that's my girl, so I love seeing any kind of idea that she's going to get more cinematic time, more lore time, or just more voice lines throughout the game. Interesting part about this cinematic is the 3 colors that he has on the table for his hair. First one is a light blue, kind of an electric blue. Second one is an orangey red, kind of fire vibe, and the third being purple. He goes through each of these colors, kind of trying to guess which one would fit his vibe. Reina immediately shuts down the purple. That is her look. He cannot pull it off.
Absolutely not. No purple hair. You couldn't pull it off.
Yeah, that's kind of your thing, huh?
And the other 2 colors she kind of brushes off. One thing that Valorant fans have pointed out that I think is really interesting is the 3 color options he has seem to reflect the 3 main radiants. Blue being Jet or Sage, red being maybe Phoenix or Yoru, and then the purple, of course, our Queen Reina. At the end of the video, he glances around the house. We don't really know what's inspiring him, but he immediately gets off the phone. He has a great idea. Now that we've met Gekko, we can understand what in frame exactly inspired him to go with the hair color he chose of green, aka being half of the decorations in his home are that beautiful green. But he rushes off the phone, and that's the last we hear from Gekko until we're at the last day of lock-in. So finally, the big day is here. It's time to learn who is Gekko. Gekko's trailer starts off confirming his age range, being that Gen Z, as he's filming what looks to be a TikTok of him dyeing his hair. Now, I love that they made Gekko kind of a younger, a more relatable agent, just because there's always going to be new generations playing this game. It's going to keep growing and the audience is going to get younger, while unfortunately some of us get older. So it's cool to see Riot kind of leaning into new technology, new social media, and all that kind of stuff. Now, an interesting little clip from those first few seconds of this trailer is what we believe to be Gekko's mom yelling at him, "Mateo, come out here, control your..." But it cuts off.
Mateo, get out here and control your...
We don't know what he has to control. We hear dogs barking, but we're not really sure what's going on back there. She sounds flustered, annoyed, could just be a mom who's overworked, but once we learn about his abilities, we'll realize why that's a really interesting thing they added in. So here he is with his brand new bright green hair, which will turn out to be his iconic look. Like many of our agents, he's tattooed, he has a few different piercings, and he's definitely going for an edgier kind of vibe. And there it is, that's our first full body look at Gekko. He's got skateboard in hand, he's got super casual attire on, and he's got what looks to be the holding cell that we saw in an earlier teaser strapped across his body like a body bag. We don't know yet what exactly is in it, but we can definitely look back at those teasers and associate the 2 together. Now, as he's leaving his house, he's texting someone who just has a little crown emoji. Anyone in the Valorant fan base will immediately associate that crown with our Queen Reina. At least I would hope so. But we don't know for sure yet. When he responds, his emoji is the green little blob that we've learned to associate with Gekko. So we're hoping that we'll find out who that is as soon as we can. Now, after reading a bit from Riot developers and character designers, we've learned so far that Gekko is confirmed a Mexican-American boy growing up in LA. So this shot kind of gives you a view of what his neighborhood looked like growing up. Now, if you look in the middle of this scene, you'll see a little sticker on what looks to be some sort of electric box that said Riot Unidos. For those of you who don't know, Riot Unidos is a group within Riot's business that is dedicated to providing a supportive environment for Latinx rioters and their allies by advocating for increased visibility, cultural bonding, and community outreach, as well as positive change throughout Riot games. Now, what I've seen recently is a tweet from one of Riot developers talking about getting this into the cinematic. They had brought it up to Riot kind of as a throw around idea, not something that they would assume Riot would go with, but Riot went ahead and put that in anyway. And I think that's a great shout out to the community within Riot and what they stand for, really showing that they are proud of their workers, they're proud of the people that make Riot what it is, and they're happy to support the people that are making this company what it is. So shout out to Riot for including that. Right away, we're introduced to one of Gekko's abilities, Wingman. Now, right now, we don't really know what he does, but it is really interesting to see him grab Gekko's leftover boba cup, bring it over to the garbage can, and absolutely dunk it. Now, this will later hint to what the actual ability is, but right now, it's just a cute little cinematic that we love. Now, this is something I absolutely love that Riot put in. It's the lifted car, but if we look at that license plate, we see it reads Dead Cypher. This is a little bit that Riot has been doing for a pretty long time now, where Cypher always dies in his cinematics. Whether he's in it for the full cinematic or just a few seconds, we know he's gonna die. So while he might not show up in this cinematic, Riot's still giving a little love to our favorite meme of Dead Cypher. And here we're introduced to another one of Gekko's friends, who we'll later learn is named Dizzy. Again, we don't really know what he does yet, but we can see he kind of shoots something to help get the basket in the hoop. And here we have Gekko on the metro dreaming about finally joining the Valorant protocol, but then we get kind of an undercarriage view from Gekko of another one of his little friends. As this little guy is looking around, he sees a poster for Kingdom Enterprises, which we know is a representative of Omega Earth. And as he looks up at it, he sees an evil face kind of grow on it to the point that he goes and attacks the poster. Now, we don't know what this means yet, but it kind of gives the idea that maybe this otherworldly creature knows about Kingdom, knows about the Alpha and Omega Valorants, and might have some insight onto what this dual dimension world is. And there's the confirmation that his crossbody bag is some sort of holder for his little friends. He picks up the little blob that he turns into and puts it inside the little canister there. Now, we don't know exactly what this means yet, but I want to take a minute to look at this shot right here. Now we have Gekko walking up to a meeting spot for the person that we're assuming to be Reina. And he looks at this mural that says Abre los ojos, which means open your eyes. We don't exactly know what that means or what it's insinuating, but if we look at the top left, we see our eyes on the future, some sort of billboard saying that. And so it makes me believe that this is Riot kind of insinuating this is the next generation. Open your eyes to the future of the next set of Valorant, or the next set of Radiant, sorry. Again, it could just be some artwork that they chose to add in. I think it's just really interesting to look into that a little more. And finally, we see Reina enter the cinematic from the shadows in very Reina fashion. This triggers Gekko to turn around, and for the first time, we see all four of Gekko's utility in one shot. We have our little green guy in his hands, the cute little blob that's followed him from all of his teasers. We have Wingman up front, Dizzy hovering above, and our Thrasher, which is his ultimate, hovering right behind them both. Once again, as Reina and Gekko are interacting, we see that there's some sort of familiarity there that's a little bit deeper than just a casual acquaintance. Gekko immediately asks, "Why are you so scary?" And Reina comes back with, "Relax, children, it's me." Meaning, both Gekko and his little friend seem to know who she is. She immediately goes to embrace Dizzy. Dizzy's completely calm with her touching him, and as a group, they walk away together. She kind of teases him lightly about his hair being that bright, bright green, but he's feeling it. He loves the vibe he set up for himself. Alright, now that we have an idea of who Gekko is and what his backstory is, let's see what his abilities are. So to start, we have Gekko's signature ability, which is the little armadillo-looking guy, Dizzy. When he throws this, it releases some sort of bubble with Dizzy inside of it, who goes around and blasts people to blind them. Now the interesting part about this blind is it's something that you can retrieve, similar to KJ's turret, but you have to be on top of it to retrieve it. So once you throw that blind in, you can go ahead back on site after you've cleared it to pick back up your signature ability. From how the character developers spoke during lock-in, it seems as if you don't retrieve the ability, you will not be able to reuse it, so it's one of those high risk, high reward abilities. Next we have his C, which is MOSH Pit. That's the little green guy we've seen in all the teasers. This works similarly to a Brim Molly or even a Viper Pit, but the interesting part is on initial contact, it doesn't do any damage, it doesn't do slows. You can stand in that for about 3 seconds, but if you wait any longer than 3 seconds, it's an immediate kill. So it's one of those mollies that timing is key. If you don't time this right, it's not gonna work to your best ability. Last on his basic abilities, we have my favorite, Wingman. Wingman's a little friend of Gekko who will run ahead, kind of like Raze's Boombot, to clear out corners and check sights. He'll run in a straight line whichever direction you send him, and explode as needed. Upon explosion, he'll stun nearby agents and give you a few seconds to get your shots in. One of the coolest parts about Wingman is his abilities to plant and defuse Spike. So, if you're playing Gekko and you have Spike in hand, you can have Gekko run ahead and plant it for you. As I said earlier in the video, I believe that Harbor is going to be Gekko's either mentor or coach, and I mention that now because pairing Wingman with maybe Harbor's shielded orb could be a really great strat to get plant down while still able to frag around him. Now in higher elos, this might be a little harder as we saw in Lock-In, it's pretty easy to disable Wingman. He takes 1 or 2 bullets and he will explode on impact, leaving the Spike on a defender's side if he is disabled. Now the interesting thing about Wingman is, like his other abilities, once he's used, he leaves a little orb for, I believe it was 5 seconds, that you can then retrieve and reuse after a 10-second cooldown. Now in higher elos, Wingman might be harder to utilize for planting or diffusing just because he is a pretty easy ability to disable. But in lower elos, he will be a lot of fun, and it's just cute having a little alternative way to plant or defuse a Spike. Lastly, we have Gekko's ult, which it took me a little while to understand how this actually worked. Now Gekko's ult kind of works in between Sky's dog and KJ's ult. Upon releasing him, you can control him and have him run in any direction you choose. And as you get closer to an enemy, you can jump and attack them, and if contact's made, they're completely disarmed in the way that KJ's ult works. So think of it kind of like KJ's ult, but movable and with a smaller radius. Now this will be great if you can catch your enemy off guard. For example, if they have turned around and they're trying to rotate and don't realize you're there, or if they're actively engaged in fire and don't have time to both shoot your teammate and your ult. I'm not too sure how this is going to work in higher elos, as it does seem pretty easy to get away from, but I cannot wait to see this ult used in gameplay to see how scary it is. I can't imagine having that thing running at me when I'm 2 HP and running away with a Spectre, so I'm excited to play against it every now and then. Alright, so now we've gone through it all, from the initial little hints at Gekko to all of his teasers, his trailer release, and his abilities. I'm super excited to have Gekko in game and cannot wait for his release day. First and foremost, for me, I'm excited for the lore that comes with Gekko. How do him and Reina know each other, and what's their relationship? Are they friends? Is she an older sibling or cousin? What is their dynamic, and why does Reina soften up around Gekko? Second, of course, I want to know about him and Neon's friendship. I am a Neon main, Neon is my girl. I cannot wait to learn more about her and the people that she's around. Second, those abilities in-game are going to really change the dynamic of play in lower elos in my opinion. I'm also really excited to see how many people get stuck in that mosh pit. If you compare that with maybe a Fade grab or even a Cypher cage and have enemies trapped there for 3 seconds and get that instant kill, are we going to be seeing 3 teammates dropped in 1 round just because of 2 great abilities that work together as a team? I'm also really excited to see how THRASH works out. Is he going to get nerfed? Is he going to be OP? Or is it going to be a util that kind of ends up not doing too much for us? We'll see. Lastly, I cannot wait to play with a wingman. For me, it's going to be absolutely heartbreaking stopping him from planting that spike. I know during lock-in, every time a player killed a wingman, the casters were furious. People were tweeting like crazy, let him plant, let him plant.
Yeah.
Here it goes. So
Does he have the spike?
Does he? Yes.
Oh my gosh. And here it goes.
Look at him go.
Don't do it.
Come on. We just want to see the little guy succeed once.
So I cannot wait to see what it's like to play with him in-game and how heartbreaking it's going to be to shoot that little guy when I need to. But sometimes you gotta. Now, one thing I want to note is that it does seem to be like his abilities are a combination of other agent abilities that we already have in game, and I think this was really purposeful. When you watch the first show game playing with Gekko and some of our new skins, they have a game developer with them who's explaining kind of the mindset they had when they were making Gekko. One of the main things they wanted was Gekko to be approachable for new gamers. And if anyone has started Valorant recently, it is a pretty tough game to learn on your first playthrough. Making Gekko a mix of a bunch of different agents makes the game a little bit easier to learn and gives you a more approachable starting agent. That way you're not setting up as a dedicated duelist, a dedicated initiator, anything like that. Gekko gives you a taste of a few different agents' abilities and makes it so that you can start with Gekko and quickly learn other agents as well. Now to me, Gekko is going to be played most in lower elos, probably iron to silver maybe. I think in higher elos his util isn't going to be as combative as some of our other kits will be, and I think he's not going to change the pro play meta at this time. That being said, I thought the same about Harbor, and Harbor's in plenty of pro plays, so I might be wrong there. That's just my opinion. I'm really looking forward to Gekko being in-game and seeing how those abilities work in a team dynamic. So far, we've only seen him played in a show game, so I'm really excited to see what he looks like at different elo levels. His official release date is March 7th, and you know I'm going to be queuing all day long. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, this is all just my opinion on this new agent. I could be wrong, and that's fine. I'm really looking forward to playing with him no matter what, and I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say about him as well. I will be posting my reaction to his gameplay as soon as I'm able to unlock him, so until then, stay tuned. Bye.